Not long before the November 2024 election, The Economist, not known as being a liberal publication, wrote a story about how the American economy was the envy of the world. That is, the Biden-Harris economy. Was inflation high in this country? Yes, it was. Was unemployment too high? Yes, it was. Was the price of fucking eggs too high? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But there were reasons for this. Most of them stemming from the horrific mismanagement by the Trump administration, and I'd say malicious and malignant mismanagement of the COVID crisis, the economic crisis that they spurred on because of said mishandling, the crisis of democracy, supply chain issues, and on and on and on. So, was the American economy as good as it maybe people wanted to be? No. Was it better than every single other developed country on the planet? Yes, it was. We were the envy of the world, and the economy was only getting better because specifically of things that the Biden administration implemented during that 4 years between 2021 and 2025. Okay, so here we are. Donald inherits this extraordinarily good economy. Less than 2.5 months later, we are teetering on the brink of a global recession inspired in no small part because of a global trade war he initiated for literally no reason. Why? Because he's stupid? Yeah, that's definitely part of it. But it's also because for his entire life, this guy has been playing with monopoly money. Now, how do I know this? Well, because I also used to play Monopoly a lot. Yep. When I was a kid, I would spend weekends at my friend's house. I lived in Jamaica. I went to school in Forest Hills. It's a bit of a hike. So I'd spend the whole weekend at her house in Forest Hills. For 36 hours, we would play Monopoly the whole time. Well, we would also eat a lot of vanilla frosting right out of the can and drink a lot of Pepsi. But, that's irrelevant to the story. And every single time we played, double boards, twice as much money from the bank, double hotels. I lost. I lost every single fucking game of Monopoly I ever played. It was so bad that on the back of the cover, she would write long columns of numbers with how much money I owed her. I was in so much debt. There was not enough money in the entire set of Monopoly for me ever to win enough money to pay her back. I thought I was an outlier in my family. I thought, wow, I'm a Trump. They're all really good at real estate, and I can't even win a game of Monopoly. Guess what? I have one thing in common with Donald. Yes, he sucks at it too. And the reason he sucks at what he's doing now, the reason he is the worst possible steward for the American economy, is because he still doesn't understand the value of money. He still doesn't understand, for example, that filing for bankruptcy 6 times is not really a good way to make a living. He doesn't understand that if you own a casino, you don't buy 2 more and cannibalize the profits, leading to said bankruptcies. He doesn't understand how anything works. All he knows is that it's not really his money anyway, and he wants more of it, and more of it, and more of it. And if it's ours, all the better. So it's one of the many reasons we're here, because he's been playing Monopoly really badly for his entire life. And unlike me, who had to go into debt and actually was bankrupt forever because the Monopoly set ran out of money, he always had somebody bailing him out. It was my grandfather, it was the banks, it was the Republican Party. And now, I am sorry to tell you, it's us. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's episode of Mary Trump Live. It is wonderful to be here with you. Thank you for joining me. Yeah, yikes. Ouch. There was, after a horrific closing yesterday, spurred obviously because of Donald's ridiculous tariff announcements, the market opened much worse off. Play the clip. First of all, what are they applauding? I mean, it's literally the destruction of the economy as we know it. And not just the American, the world economy is on the line here. What are they applauding? And please, somebody tell me what that friggin' vampire Rudolph Giuliani is doing there. Shouldn't he be in like the poorhouse? Like what? Like why is he even able to afford a suit to show up to the stock exchange? And also, does anybody think he's like a good luck charm? I think that's ill-advised. Anyway, it clearly was not a great omen for our markets because, you know, Rudolph Giuliani never melts under pressure. And I mean that both literally and figuratively. And that's disgusting. And I'm so sorry we shared that with you. But how did we get here? I mean, I'm willing to blame Giuliani for many, many, many things. This is not exactly one of them. Although I do hope that Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman have all of that evil man's money right now. How did he get in there? Security must be bad at the Dow. That's probably not true. Well, I'm glad he did because he is not a good luck charm. And it turns out, and this probably made everybody feel better, it was only the second worst thing that happened in the market today. Yeah, stocks plummeted. The S&P 500 went back into correction territory for the biggest one-day loss since 2020. What happened during 2020? There was some big deal going on. Oh yeah, COVID, a global pandemic. That's what. Today, it was Donald Trump. Great. Here's a report from just after the closing bell. Watch this.
This is a CBS News special report. I'm John Dickerson in New York, where the closing bell on Wall Street just rang. The markets closed down. The Dow slid roughly 1,600 points. The S&P 500 fell more than 4.5%. And the Nasdaq dropped nearly 6%. This comes just a day after President Trump announced his new tariff plan, which begins Saturday.
On a day like this, I always like to put it in perspective of how big of a loss this was. So you have to go back to 2020 for each of these three major indexes, the Dow, the S&P 500, and the Nasdaq, to see a single day that saw a greater loss. And so what does that mean? That was COVID.
Yeah.
Right? Investors are looking at today and sort of, at least in terms of how the market reacted, putting these two equal.
I think it's going very well. It was an operation, like when a patient gets operated on, and it's a big thing. I said this would exactly be the way it is. We have $6 or $7 trillion coming into our country, and we've never seen anything like it.
Well, that's true. Well, it's not entirely true. I mean, I wasn't around at the time, but I'm pretty sure we saw something exactly like this during the Great Depression. Yes, going exactly according to plan, we have 6 or 7 trillion. First of all, where did he come up with that number? But Donald, that $6 or $7 trillion that's allegedly coming into this country today, guess what? It evaporated because you're a moron. Yeah, I don't think this is going to plan unless the plan is to destroy the global economy, in which case things are just humming right along. And that's really saying something because, I mean, we could argue that a big driver of the failures of the economy in 2020 were down to Donald's and his administration's, as I said earlier, mishandling of COVID, egregious, malicious mishandling of COVID. But there were a lot of other things going on. They made it worse. But, global pandemic is going to cause massive, massive disruptions and supply chain issues and all that stuff. This literally is a self-inflicted wound, the likes of which nobody has ever seen. See what I did there? So after Donald brought us first full circle by taking credit And I actually love that he's taking credit because, clearly he doesn't know what he's taking credit for, but he's owning this. He is owning this. And clearly he was getting informed all day long about what was happening with the stock market. One of his favorite metrics, the metric was seriously one of the metrics by which he measures his self-worth, right? Obviously he was getting updated constantly and was staying in touch with the media so the American people's fears and anxieties could be assuaged by their leader. No, kidding. Sorry. While the markets were crashing, he was flying to a golf tournament because, I was going to say because, everybody needs to make themselves feel better by doing something they're good at. And then I realized it's golf and he sucks at that too. Oh, well. Yeah. So he was going down to a golf tournament at his golf course near Doral. And he's going to attend the Leave golf tournament and then a dinner that's hosted in his honor. I guess what are they honoring him for? Probably, I'm guessing, but I think it would be fair. Probably the fastest destruction of the world economy in American history. I hope it's a really big trophy. Afterwards, he's going to fly to Palm Beach by helicopter and stay the night at Mar-a-Lago. And Donald, I think you should say, thank you, American people, for paying for all of this for me. Because that's literally what we do now. We pay and pay and pay for the destruction, for the loss of our once very strong economy, for the loss of the value of our 401ks, for the loss of the value of our Social Security checks. We pay and we pay and we pay. And on top of all of that, we get to pay for that fucking moron, that traitor to this country, to play golf and fly around in helicopters and have dinners that are held in his honor. While the markets continue to tank and Americans brace for higher costs on absolutely everything, not just eggs, Donald went golfing, reminding us exactly where his priorities lie. So, we know that's like his default position. How am I going to avoid being responsible for anything? Well, 1, I'm going to lie about it. 2, I'm going to deflect and blame somebody else. And 3, I'm going to play golf really badly. And then I'm going to cheat at golf because I'm so bad at it and I need to win because I'm a winner. Fucking loser. Anyway, how are these tariffs affecting Americans? According to the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation, Donald's sweeping new tariffs will raise average American households' cost of living by the tidy sum of $2,100 per year. 2 weeks ago, remember? I don't know if you remember 2 weeks ago because so much has happened. 2 weeks ago, that number was $1,500 a year, which, by the way, for most people is an almost impossible burden to bear. But these people, like almost everybody in Donald's cabinet, has hundreds of millions of, if not billions of dollars. Do you think they understand that? To them, $1,500, like what even is that insignificant sum of money to these oligarchic assholes? It's meaningless. They have no concept that $1,500, let alone $2,100, can cause significant amounts of strain on the American family. That amount of money can cause heads of households to make absolutely impossible decisions. It's winter. Geez, what today? Do I feed my kid or do I turn on the heat? That kind of shit. The kinds of decisions these absolute robber barons have never had to make and never will have to make. I want you to take a look at what some consumers are saying.
I feel like the prices are ridiculous now. It's to the point where it's going to be harder for people to shop because the prices are just insane. Literally, yes, because last week I literally for the same amount of stuff that I bought, I literally paid like maybe $30-40, and now it's like $75 for like 3 bags of groceries. It's like completely insane.
So far it's the same, but I was in a restaurant depot to buy some aluminum plate foil. The price go up from $42 to $59.60 for the 500 aluminum plate.
That man, Mike, you heard from just there, he owns a cafe. He was stocking up on things like sugar and croissants. And he told me that he's already been passing along these higher prices to his customers. And he said that he can't raise them anymore and that he's worried that as prices continue to rise, the only option for him is to just have it eat into his profits. And he's worried about the kind of impact that's going to have on his business. We also heard from people who are stocking up on items today, things like paper towels, toilet paper. We've seen a lot of overstuffed carts of people trying to get ahead of prices going even further.
Yeah, I mean, that's the choice, right? If you have money now, do you stock up before prices go higher, which they will? If you have a business, here's the dilemma. Do you make less money for yourself and your family, or do you essentially make things so expensive that you're going to lose customers? Thanks, Donald. Brilliant plan. Brilliant. Just brilliant. The tariffs are expected to cause a $900 billion drop in U.S. imports, triggering higher prices across consumer goods as Americans either shift to domestic options or reduce purchases altogether. And I'm guessing the latter is going to be happening more and more frequently. The average U.S. import tax rate will jump from 2.5% to 19%. That is the highest since the Great Depression era Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. Fitch Ratings warns this could reach a century high effective rate. The Tax Foundation predicts Americans' after tax income will fall by 2.1%, disproportionately impacting low and middle income households, while wealthier Americans will be less affected. So what do they care? Donald's tariff package already surpassing $2.5 trillion in targeted imports, vastly exceeding the $380 billion from his first term. Yeah, vastly exceeding it because it's like, I don't even know, almost 8 times higher. Economists are warning that this could push both the United States and the global economies into recession. And one needs to wonder why. Why? Is the fact that he's an idiot enough of a reason? I don't think so. There has to be something else going on here. And the only thing I can come up with, and look, this is not my definitive final answer, but I think it's informed speculation, and I will keep thinking about it. But right now, the only thing I can think is that this is exactly what this monster wants for us and for the rest of the world. American companies are already starting to feel the pain of Donald's tariffs. Stellantis, an auto company, has temporarily halted production at some of its auto assembly plants in Canada and Mexico due to the newly announced tariffs. That seems sort of like the opposite of what we were promised, doesn't it? For those of us who don't know, Stellantis is a multinational automotive company formed in 2021 through the merger of Fiat Chrysler Automobiles and the PSA Group, or Peugeot SA, now owning a portfolio of 14 iconic brands and 2 mobility arms. As a result, around 900 U.S. hourly workers will be temporarily laid off. Again, pretty sure that's the opposite of what we were promised. These employees work at 5 facilities in the Midwest, including Warren Stamping and Sterling Stamping in Michigan, as well as 3 plants in Kokomo, Indiana. And I have to wonder why more people weren't prepared for this. Yeah, I guess some people thought Donald was bluffing and he was doing that thing he does when he quote unquote negotiates by starting with the position, I want everything I want and I want it now and I want you to have nothing. And getting to his end position, which is I want everything what I want that I want now, and I want you to have nothing. Like that's his brilliant deal making. But he wasn't bluffing. He wasn't bluffing because something's deeply wrong with him. And for some reason, he got it in his head that tariffs were going to be his thing. Tariffs were going to lead us back to a golden age of America. I mean, the only thing I can think is the golden age he's talking about is that he stole all of the gold from Fort Knox. Because right now, he's leaving us with nothing. Donald's tariffs triggered layoffs at U.S. auto plants. Canada's moving forward without him, as they should, building a global trade coalition that aligns with its values and leaves the United States behind. Why? Because the United States no longer aligns with the values of Canada, our neighbor and closest ally for a very, very long time. Canada announced today that it will build the coalition of countries who share their values to build their economy and trade opportunities, even without the United States. I would say, especially without the United States at this point. Watch Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney and what he has to say.
I told the President that I will be working hard for the next month to earn the right to represent Canada in those discussions, to get the best deal for Canada under the new U.S. approach. At the same time, Canada must be looking elsewhere to expand our trade, to build our economy, and to protect our sovereignty. Canada is ready to take a leadership role in building a coalition of like-minded countries who share our values. We believe in international cooperation. We believe in the free and open exchange of goods, services, and ideas. And if the United States no longer wants to lead, Canada will.
If the United States no longer wants to lead, the United States needs to get out of the way. And if the United States doesn't get out of the way, well, the message has been sent. Nobody cares. They're going to ignore us and do without us, as they should. Unfortunately, though, this is going to have a deeply negative impact on American taxpayers and American consumers. And that, of course, is terrible. But what makes this a particularly dark day is that, and I don't know if this was intentional. I wouldn't be surprised if it were, but let's say it is. Donald's plan to make America a diminished, isolated pariah state is going exactly to plan. And that should make us all deeply sad. As former allies pursue new trade alliances with like-minded nations, Donald continues to destabilize the world. Meanwhile, Senate Democrats have returned from their lunch break and are working to establish some much-needed guardrails. Hooray, Democrats. Today, Senators Chuck Grassley, a Republican of Iowa, and Maria Cantwell, Democrat of Washington, introduced a piece of bipartisan legislation to curb Donald's unilateral tariff authority, requiring congressional approval for any new tariffs within 60 days. I mean, Jesus Christ. The fact that Chuck Grassley, who's like our known Russian asset, is signing on to this should tell us something about how dire the situation is. The bill mandates that Donald submit detailed justifications, including an economic impact analysis. Guys, you've lost him already. So you seriously think that Donald is going to understand this, let alone to be able to fulfill your requirements here? Impact analysis on U.S. businesses and consumers before implementing tariffs? Is his not saying it's the best thing anybody the likes of which has never seen? I mean, is that not enough for you? That plus, the fact that the Dow lost 1,600 points today, I think that should get the stamp of approval right there. Lawmakers from both parties are increasingly alarmed. Good. By Donald's erratic trade policy. I don't know. I don't think they're erratic. I think he's been quite consistent. Tariffs are going to make everything great again. Many say that his policies are bypassing legislative oversight and threatening the global economy. Okay, many people? How about all of you should be saying that because you're senators and it's your job to do this shit? What is wrong with you people? It's your job. The president of the United States does not have the authority to set economic policy unless you are stupid enough and benighted enough to let him. And now you're asking for paperwork. Cool. All right. Well, this legislation comes amid rising political and economic pressure, you think, and may signal growing bipartisan momentum in Congress to rein in executive overreach under the Trump regime. Yeah, it would have been nice if you didn't allow the economic overreach to happen in the first place. I said economic, I meant executive overreach to happen in the first place. So as Congress moves slowly, methodically, and, I don't know, tardily to rein in Donald's unchecked tariff power. The Trump regime is gutting public health protections by firing staff at the Centers for Disease Control who track, kind of insignificant, unimportant things like lead exposure and cancer clusters and environmental threats, which I guess should really only matter to you if you're human. Today, the Trump regime fired the entire permanent staff of the CDC's Division of Environmental Health Science and Practice, eliminating programs focused on childhood lead poisoning, Jesus Christ, cancer clusters, air pollution, and emergency response. The division has been instrumental in identifying threats like lead in children's food and would have led the response to chemical or nuclear attacks. Former CDC officials warned the cuts will endanger public health for decades, stripping the U.S. of critical scientific and emergency expertise. The firings are part of broader HHS layoffs, with Secretary Robert Kennedy claiming it's to make America healthy again. One health expert warns, quote, "This is how we make America sick again," unquote. Like, I mean, is Kennedy somebody who believes in Mithridatism? That I don't have a synonym for that, so let me just explain what it means. This is the process by which you ingest very tiny amounts of poison over periods of time and slowly increase them so you can eventually become immune to the poison that you have been ingesting. Are we supposed to do that with lead now? Are we supposed to do that with our children when they're like babies? Like, just give them tiny little bits of lead in their formula maybe and increase the amount of lead over time. So when they accidentally eat lead paint or something, they're not going to suffer the grievous consequences of lead poisoning. Is that the plan? I don't know. Kennedy's an environmental attorney. You think he would care about things like poison in our environment? You think he would care that right now what he's doing is giving the green light to allow for the government and companies to continue to dump poison into our air and our water and our food, putting our children at increasingly great risk? Is that what you mean, you fucking psychopath, about making America healthy again? Maybe. Also, and this keeps getting lost because I know it's not the first thing that springs to mind, but this is what CDC's officials, as I said, are warning, that this is stripping the United States of critical scientific and emergency expertise, and it is going to impact us negatively, potentially for decades. That's the destruction of institutional knowledge. And by destroying institutional knowledge, which accrues over decades, you leave us vulnerable in ways that you cannot possibly imagine. So as Donald and the head of Health and Human Services collude to make America sicker again, the Pentagon launched a probe into Defense Secretary Hegseth's Signal chat text. Awesome. I mean, I'll talk about that in a second. Let's just get into some of the details. While the White House may have concluded its internal review, the Pentagon Inspector General, an objective third party who is not beholden to anybody, has opened an investigation into Hegseth's use of Signal to discuss military options in Yemen, also known as violating the Espionage Act. The probe was launched today after a bipartisan request from Senate Armed Services Committee leaders. Interesting. Following reports that the chat contained potentially classified details about upcoming U.S. airstrikes, including aircraft types and timing. The investigation will examine whether Hegseth and others violated classification rules or federal records laws, particularly given the group chat's disappearing message timer. That seems pretty self-evident, doesn't it? According to a memo, the Inspector General will look into how widely the Signal app was used for official business and whether policies were followed. Senators Roger Wicker and Jack Reed said the allegations, if true, raise serious concerns about sharing sensitive military intelligence over unsecured channels and with individuals lacking security clearance. But as we now know, That's not the only signal chat in question.
So this thing keeps spiraling, right? And there, for instance, has been reporting in the past couple of days that there were maybe up to 20 or more than 20 chats that National Security Advisor Michael Waltz was involved in. Some reporting even in the past 24 hours that there have been firings at NSC as questions have swirled about Waltz's future. Of course, Hegseth is the one that put a lot of the material in the chat that Waltz created. And so, he's always been kind of in and out of the spotlight a little bit on this as well. Now, will this lead to Trump sort of switching positions on this? Time will tell, I suppose. Trump has a long history of disregarding or even firing inspectors general. So I would.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the problem. I mean, it's great there is one now. Can we be confident that this man, I don't know if it's a man, that this inspector general would be allowed to do the job? No, especially if, as we know, because we read the text thread, we know that crimes were committed. We know that protocol was violated. And we know that it was the people at the highest level of the United States government who did those things. I am not hopeful that the inspector general will be left alone to do the job. So the lack of understanding of national security measures is to be expected at this point, especially considering what happened yesterday. The White House has dismissed at least 3 National Security Council staff members. Now, that sounds like potentially it could be a good thing, right? Because there were a lot of people involved in this very egregious signal chat, which was, again, violated the Espionage Act, among other things. However, the decision followed a meeting on Wednesday between Donald and the anti-Islamic, viciously hateful, horrible human being, Laura fucking Loomer. Laura Loomer is now dictating to Donald Trump who he fires. What is that? Okay, I always say that nobody should be surprised by anything. But I'm a human. What is happening here? During the meeting, Loomer urged Donald to remove several National Security Council officers, including his principal deputy national security advisor, accusing them of disloyalty. One source indicated that the firings were a direct consequence of this discussion. As of today, it was unclear whether Principal Deputy National Security Advisor Alex Wong was among those let go. One source suggested that National Security Advisor Michael Waltz might have hesitated to dismiss Wong, given the target already on his back was Signalgate. Laura Loomer has no authority. She has no official position in the United. Well, she's like the Elon Musk of Islamophobes, I guess. So here's my question. Has Laura Loomer been hanging out with Pete Hegseth's wife? Because we know she's been going to highly classified meetings in the Pentagon with defense secretaries from other countries. So yeah, maybe they're on a signal chat together too. And they're just dishing the dirt on which national security advisor should be fired today because they're being disloyal. How in the world would Laura Loomer know anything about any of this? Notice a question I'm not asking. Why would Donald Trump take her advice? Well, because he's a fucking moron. And of course he would, because he's stupid. After taking governing advice from Loomer, Donald is now escalating his loyalty crusade by threatening to strip billions of dollars in federal funding from public schools. Yeah, I mean, may as well do that before you totally get rid of the Department of Education. And there's a catch. He won't take the money. He will take the money unless the schools eliminate DEI programs within 10 days. Because you know how quickly educators like to change things. The Trump regime issued a directive requiring K-12 schools to certify they have eliminated diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in order to receive federal funding. The Education Department gave states and schools that much time Framing DEI as discriminatory and citing federal civil rights laws as justifications for the crackdown, the certification threatens billions of dollars in federal funding, including Title I grants for low-income schools. Yeah. And warns that schools could face liability under the False Claims Act if they fail to comply. Just in case you need a reminder, the False Claim Act, FCA, is also known as the Lincoln Law. It's a federal law that allows the government, with the help of private citizens, in some cases known as whistleblowers, other cases known as snitches, to sue individuals or companies that have defrauded it, allowing for the recovery of damages and penalties. Yes, this is very 1984. So obviously this is bad. It's bad for many, many reasons. And the fact that it's also targeting low-income schools maybe makes it easier for these monsters to require that the DEI initiatives be eliminated in order for them to receive their federal funding. But let's just be very honest about what is being required here. What the Trump regime is saying is, we will withhold your federal funding, which is necessary in order for you not just to educate your children, but in order to do frivolous things like feed them, unless you agree to stop teaching American history accurately. So, with all of this horror that we are facing on a daily basis in a way that is, quite frankly, unrelenting, what can we do? That's the question people keep asking. This is the question I keep asking myself. This is the question we also desperately need to try to answer. Actually, there's a video coming out that I made about this topic. I also discuss Senator Cory Booker's 25-hour long speech in front of the Senate and why that mattered so much. But it is not a simple answer, even if it seems like a simple question. So I want to thank our awesome moderator, Susan, for bringing this to our attention. And I want to make sure that we start talking about it today. On Saturday, April 5th, that's 2 days from now, there will be nationwide protests under the Hands Off banner. Again, that will take place across all 50 states, advocating for democracy, bodily autonomy, and climate justice. It's organized by by progressive groups like Third Act and Reproductive Freedom for All. The demonstrations aim to rally thousands ahead of key primaries and legal battles involving Donald. On the Hands Off website, it says the following, quote, Donald and Elon think this country belongs to them. They're taking everything they can get their hands on and daring the world to stop them. On Saturday, April 5th, we're taking to the streets nationwide to fight back with a clear message, hands off, unquote. So I want you to take a look at this map of the planned protests for this weekend. They are literally in every corner of the country. Please go to the website Hands Off 2025 to find a location near you and let your voice be heard. This is important stuff. That website again is https://handsoff2025.com. And we will include this information in the episode description. Protesting is important. It needs to be happening everywhere. It needs to be happening more frequently, and the protests need to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So thank you to Hands Off for organizing this. And if you can go, please do. All right. Whew. It is time for the sometimes desperately needed emotional support moment. After yesterday's tariff announcement, I knew this was coming. I knew this was coming because they may not be able to fly. They may not speak in a language we can understand, but they're wily and they know how to fight back. Yeah, the penguins have taken to social media to resist the Trump regime. Penguins against Trump. Donald. They like me. Have gained 10,000 followers overnight on their Threads account. Oh my God, 10,000. We can do better than that. Go there. Not right. You just wait a couple minutes and then you can go over there and follow them on Threads. It's penguins. In their bio, they're described as, quote, a group of penguins living on the herd in McDonald Islands. Not sure why we're being tariffed. We love fish and hate fascists, unquote. Oh, come on. That alone is worth a follow. And also, like, what are they tariffing? Seriously, like, what are they? I did not know. I mean, again, I know that penguins are wily and smart, despite the lack of flying and speaking, and that, tiny flippers. Like, there's not a lot they can do. What do they export? I've been thinking about that all day long. But what I also know, what I do know, I don't know what they export. I know this for a fact. They've been viciously maligned by the Trump regime. And I, for one, am very pleased, very, very pleased that they are fighting back. And one of their most popular posts, I think this is a bumper sticker. I think they need to start printing bumper stickers for this immediately, because I want one. I don't have a car, but that's okay. I'll get a car. Well, no, I can't. Nobody can afford cars anymore. But, theoretically, I'll put it on my bicycle. This is what it says. Quote, cute and cuddly my ass. I want to bite him. Unquote. Thank you, penguins. Thank you for that. Seriously. And I'm sorry we didn't have a picture of you. But I understand. You don't want humans anywhere near you right now. I get it. Next time, send a selfie. All right. It is time for your questions and comments. I bet you're relieved. In the middle of nowhere. Thank you very much for that. That's very kind of you. Comment. Oh, Mary, kindred spirit equals I hate Monopoly too. I actually didn't hate it, but I'm a pretty good loser. But actually, obviously, I was a pretty good loser because I lost spectacularly and constantly. What I meant is I took it in my stride, and I was comforted by the Doritos and the vanilla icing because we were very healthy children. Anyway. What did something I said? Oh my goodness. That was weird. I'm back, I think. Are we back? Yeah, we're back. Cool. Modern technology. All right. Janissa, question. Are we liberated from the Trumpster fire yet? No. Worldwide, Trump session to come. Yeah, I'm afraid so. No, it's going to take a while, but as a friend of mine recently said, they're burning it all down, and we're just standing here watching. Yeah, they are. I mean, we're not doing anything. We're just watching because seriously, like I think this is my opinion. The faster it burns down, the faster we can come in and fix all of it. But yeah, it is a dumpster fire. Dobbs View, thank you very much. Comment or quote from Margaret Mitchell, actually. There is money to be made in the building of countries and the breaking down of countries. Oh, yeah. And they figured that out. I mean, wars make people a lot of money, too. And apparently so do trade wars, because otherwise I can't quite figure out what's going on. Nancy, thank you so very much for that comment. Hi, Mary. So happy you fell far from the family tree. Thank you. Yeah, I'm fairly relieved about that myself, actually. I often think, like in my darker moments, I think, at least I'm not them. It's very comforting. So thank you. Sherry, thank you very much. It's very kind of you. Question. Before your grandfather passed away, did he know what a big loser Donald was? No. He did not, because he didn't know he had Alzheimer's for years. The symptoms started appearing when my grandfather was about Donald's age, like in his late 70s, maybe early 80s. He lived to be 90, almost 93. Sorry. And we are a long-lived people. Not always, but often. And over the course of that, say, 12, 14-year period, my grandfather slowly forgot everybody. He started forgetting the least significant people in his lives, like his grandchildren. And then his least important children. Eventually, like towards the very end, he forgot my grandmother. Like, actually, I was with my Aunt Marianne the day he forgot her, and it was actually awful. He eventually forgot my grandmother, even though they'd been married for over 60 years. You know who he never forgot? Donald. Yep, that just sent chills down my spine. Nancy, again, thank you so much. Question. Love not hearing his voice. Yeah, I think that's fair. Can we blur his face? Just leave his possessed hair showing above the blur. I wish. That's not a thing that we could do. Sorry. If we could, we would. I would like actually some kind of animated thing. That ain't happening. 5150 chick. Canada's in the house. Hey, Canada, you guys are awesome. Keep not buying stuff from us. Comment. Mary fell so far from the family tree that makes her a peach, pear, or a plum. Okay. Definitely not a rotten apple from the Trump tree like Uncle Donald. Yes. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I love the fruit metaphors. And yeah, I like not being rotten. That's also that's a bonus. Diane, thank you very much. That's extremely generous of you. Awesome. Comment. First chef's kiss to your sound engineer. Do we have one of those? No, we have awesome editors. And yes, sound people. They're fantastic. For Lutnick earlier today. Yeah. Now about that penguin tariff. Remember the penguin chick with two dads? Yes, that inspired a kid's book. Woke and dangerous. Will show that's right. I completely forgot. I mean, I said penguins are wily. I completely forgot they're also deeply subversive. And some of them are gay. So, very, very dangerous. Watch out. Two penguin dads. What a world. Jenny, thank you so much for that comment. Mike Johnson made the rest. Wait. Mike Johnson made rest of this House term, count as 1 day. They should only get 1 day's pay. Yeah, that seems fair. He's vile. He's vile and he's weak and he's pathetic and he needs to go. Kitty K, thank you very much. Comment, stupid is as stupid does. Yeah, that about sums it up. Stupid is as stupid does. A t-shirt, perhaps. Darth Zana, thank you very much for your contribution. Fantastic question. How can we educators stop DEI when there is 504 and IDA Act, equity inclusion essentially written in the IEP, which is a legal document? Yeah, I guess the question is, does any of that matter? Will any of that matter? And I'm very sorry to say I can't answer that question definitively, which makes me crazy. So, keep fighting the good fight, though, because our children still need to learn, and they need to learn by people like you who care about teaching them accurately. Zoe, I apologize. I'm not sure. Thank you. That's incredibly generous of you. Comment, Mary, the only Trump we need and love. There's one more, but thank you. Appreciate it. Cindy, awesome. Thank you. Comment, buying Canadian whiskey and sending you what's left. That's okay. Keep it. Hang on to that Canadian whiskey. Although, yeah, I'm going to start buying Canadian stuff too, even if I don't need it, like maple syrup. And I'm going to start buying Ukrainian vodka, even though I don't need that either. But that's okay. Let's do that. Don't buy anything made in a red state. Well, maybe that's not fair, but I don't know. Like, got to do something. That's what Canada's doing. Pretty strategic and targeted. Lee, wow, thanks, Lee. That's fantastic. Comment, Mary, my brother is an embezzling loser, but at least he isn't tagging my 401k. Yeah, right? I think it's nice to stay in your lane. Be an embezzling loser, But don't screw around with people's 401ks. How hard is that? You know what, though? By just being an embezzler, Donald can't steal enough money. He needs to steal from everything, including our 401ks and our Social Security. That one, Katie, thanks so very much. Question. I'll never understand how you could possibly be related to that neon turd. Also, do you know why your grandfather was the way he was? Who influenced him to be horrible, stay awesome? Well, thank you so much. I always considered and actually, this is true. This is true. Throughout the course of my life. Now, obviously, when I was a little kid, nobody knew who Donald Trump was. No, my grandfather was actually quite well known in New York because he was a very influential real estate guy with lots of money and power and connections. But nobody knew about him outside of New York. That changed when I was in college, and nobody ever had the foggiest idea that I was related to him, even though it's not a common last name, and there's kind of a family resemblance. So I always took that as the highest compliment. My grandfather was a sociopath, which means that that's just who he was. There was no influence. It's just the way he was born and he was evil. Stacy 3107. Question: do you have hobbies outside of politics? I used to. I used to read a lot of novels. I used to write stuff that wasn't political writing. I used to play tennis like all the time. I used to travel. Yeah, I'm getting depressed now. But yes, the answer to your question is, I did. I did. And I will again, as will we all. Oh, I used to play the guitar. See, it's getting depressing again. You get the idea. I'm busy. Eska, thank you so much for that. Comment, stay strong, my American friends. Thank you so much. I'm assuming you're from Great Britain because I recognize that currency. That's the pound. So thank you. We appreciate it. We appreciate people in other countries understanding that not all of us are okay with this. In fact, most of us aren't. So thanks for not abandoning us. It really matters to us a lot. Tia Mia, thank you so much for that as always. Comment for the Penguins. Yeah. And now everybody go follow them on Threads. Because they're on the right side of things. Jack of all trades, master of none. From the EU, thank you so very, very much. Comment, thank you, Mrs., for doing these videos. Love from Ireland. I love Ireland, and hopefully I'm going to be going there soon. So thank you for that. Elvira, Mexico, thank you so very much. Really sorry about all the tariffs. It's horrible. Comment, thank you, Mary Trump. You're very welcome. I'm more than happy to be here. I love doing this, and I love hanging out with you guys. Deb, thank you very much from Australia. Yep. Comment, gay penguins against, I'm going to edit if you'll forgive me. Gay penguins against Donald. Yep, absolutely. I've got some other people to thank, but before I do that, I just want to let you all know, first of all, thank you, of course, for joining us. There's not going to be a Mary Trump Live tomorrow night, but we'll have plenty of videos dropping tomorrow and over the weekend, so please keep an eye on those. And don't forget, Saturday is our weekly episode of Trump Trolls Trump. If you haven't checked that out, it's fun. It's really fun, and we love doing it. Okay, so I want to thank a few people. Lois, thank you so much from Canada. My apologies, and keep doing what you're doing. Some super stickers. Christine, thank you so much. Sherry, thank you as always for that. That's great. Mariana, thank you as always. Fantastic. Cindy, thank you as always. We have repeat super stickers. It's awesome. Debbie, thank you very much. Purpley one, thank you. Another super sticker. Jeb Finch, thank you. And Jacqueline, another super sticker. Thank you so very much. Okay, that does it for us. Thanks to everybody watching on YouTube. The two of you watching from Twitter. Everybody live streaming on my Substack, The Good in Us, which I hope everybody checks out. And of course, everybody listening to the podcast version of this. We appreciate that. To all of our super stickers, to everybody giving us gifts. We so appreciate it. We are closing in on 400,000 subscribers. Your gifts help us tremendously to grow. Also, what helps us, and this one's easy, just subscribe to our channel. Like and share our videos. It really does make a difference to us and how people find our videos on YouTube. So please do that if you can. It does not cost anything, I promise you. Of course, to our amazing moderators for being amazing, and to my extraordinary team for being extraordinary, because these are tough times. I mean, you saw what we're all dealing with right now, and they keep it all straight, and they make sure that you know everything you need to know. So thanks, guys. That does it for us. It is Thursday, but there will be no show, as I said, tomorrow night, but there will be videos dropping throughout the day and Saturday and Sunday. The next time I will see you live, however, will be Sunday night at 6 p.m. for Eastern for Ask Me Anything Within Reason. And in the meantime, please, everybody, stay safe and be kind. Have a great night.